My name is Andre Abawad. I'm the founder of Entrepreneurgy. I will be moderating this panel. I'm honored to have with me Mark Dow, Managing Partner RPR. He's a lecturer at AUB and also other universities. He's been an expert in this field. We'll be talking more about his business later. Mr. Muhammad Al-Omari, also he's an expert in immersive technology. He's the founder of Limitless Lab. He has an extensive experience in the GCC countries and now proudly coming to Lebanon to introduce us to immersive technologies and the new trends here within the market. So I'll ask you, both of you, if you may introduce your business within 1 minute, Mark and Muhammad.
Okay. Hello, I'm Mark Dow. I'm a founder of RPR. It's a public relations company that also does a lot of engagements at the level of technology and brand building exercises when it's interactive. So I also teach at AUB Media Studies. I've been teaching there for the past 5 or 6 years in advertising, public relations, and communications. And what we basically do is we're mainly working with brands and multinationals in particular to try and augment and improve the consumer experience with the brands that they have.
Hello. So Muhammad Al-Omari from Limitless Lab. We are a creative technology company, basically. We focus on building solutions for customer experiences and consumer engagement. We help brands and agencies how to actually improve their communication with the client, either by developing solutions on public retails or in areas where actually customers are, or we take it to them by building certain type of applications that actually people can communicate with and use to communicate with the clients. Our main focus now is actually on immersive technology, mainly on augmented reality now, since it's actually going to be the future of communication, which all the studies show that since it's based on communicating through mobile technology, it will be the perfect tool for marketing.
Thank you. Based on the schedule you have, there's Mr. Rami Aitani. He had a sudden travel arrangement and he couldn't be with us today. Mr. Mark Dow will be talking about the case study for L'Oreal. Also, we have a discussion about it later on. We have 2 presentations. We will start with the one with Mr. Muhammad Al-Omari and then Mark Dow. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So basically here we're going to talk about augmented reality versus virtual reality. I think people still mix it a little bit, but what is augmented reality, what is virtual reality? They even put holograms sometimes on the middle of, like they see augmented reality and they think it's a hologram. And this is a bit sometimes confusing, mainly for certain brands and media. So augmented reality basically is bringing a virtual object and put it in the real space. And this is exactly the opposite of virtual reality, where you go into a virtual area and you put all your senses into this area by using the goggles. So you don't know, you don't see the physical space around you, and you interact with virtual content. Augmented reality, actually, you bring a content, virtual rendered content, and you put it in the physical space. Augmented reality is not a new technology. It's go back to around 1957, and but the main business started with it was in 1989 and 1990 by Boeing, a team from Boeing industry. Now augmented reality is being implemented actually in every industry that we know, from education to training to real estate to media, marketing, and so on, even military. Augmented reality now stands actually in being used in many areas. We will go into the case study later on for General Electric that we actually built for them a platform of augmented reality to use during Arab Health exhibition, where people will be able to see the machines without having the machine physically existing there. They will be able to see it, interact with it, and experience it. Now, the numbers about augmented reality revenue forecast for the future is really amazing. If you look here, actually, by 2020, we will have around 1 billion users using augmented reality through their mobiles. And compared to the revenue stream between AR and VR, we see that actually the VR is going to exceed virtual reality in more than 3 times. So for $120 billion going to be spent on 2020 on augmented reality compared to $30 billion spent on virtual reality. And the reason for that is augmented reality is more accessible for users than virtual reality. Although that now probably the trend is on VR because big companies, they start to use it and promote it like Samsung and others. But now if you watch the news, you see that already Apple has developed their own platform to develop augmented reality. Facebook is going big in this. Snapshot, I mean, the easiest sample about augmented reality that everybody is using is a Snapshot, which is everybody knows. This is an augmented reality in the simplest way that actually people using in social media. So the figures here is really amazing. The numbers are really crazy about augmented reality. This is where we're going into the future. We're going into education, industries, different industry and different vertical markets. So where actually AR adds value for business and users? First, we get actually very low rates of error. Okay, you get this emotional experience where people actually get attached more to the brand because they experience the product even without having it physically with their hand. And instead of having it as a poster or maybe even see it in a screen, now they see it within the real space that they are existing there. So imagine if you look through your mobile phone and you see maybe a bottle, a car, or anything, you feel it's there. You can actually turn around it using your mobile and you experience it. You change the color, you change the material, the texture of it. Still, it's not there, but you're virtually seeing it through your device. So, okay. The impact of augmented reality on retail, let's say. Now you have studies show that 40% of people actually who tried augmented reality, they wanted to go and buy the product. And this is a huge impact and increase in sales for retailers. 61% of shoppers prefer to shop off stores that actually offers augmented reality. Of course, we talk about probably different market than the local market here, but eventually this is going to be implemented here, and we are working on that to educate the market and educate agencies to work with them together how to gonna use it and benefit their client from such a solution. So impact of augmented reality on purchasing, decision that done by purchasers. So on furniture, okay, the number is really talking by itself. You have 86% of people who actually tried furniture and augmented reality, they actually made a purchase. That means they see the furniture virtually and they purchase it before they see it physically, before they actually see or touch it. Okay, you go into the vehicle manuals, let's say for cars or machines. Shoes, okay, industry, we're talking about fashion, dressing room and virtual design rooms, and shopping apps, because let's say if you're talking about e-commerce, now users, they can actually see the product, and by developing call to action through the app or augmented reality application, they will be able to go and purchase the product immediately after they see it. How does it look exactly in the virtual state, but in the physical area? So for marketing, why augmented reality is important, we see the spending, how many actually marketing companies plan to use AR and VR in 2017. You have the market in Australia, France, Germany, UK, US, and the rest of the world. The trend is developing in different vertical markets. So each market have actually start to see where they can benefit and when they can use this technology to increase their sales. So now we have here the travel industry is already starting to using it, driving, training institutions, and different jewelry, let's say, and fashion. We will go into one example now of augmented reality before we move to the next presentation with Mark. So here, General Electric, instead of shipping the machines from US to Dubai, paying a lot for shipping and customs and bigger space in the stand where actually it's very costly. So now you can see 5 different machines, experience it, read about it, watch videos about it, and see it from different angles like it's there, saving all the money that they actually had to spend if they have to ship these machines from United States. So now we see the screen of the app, what the user is actually seeing. So yes, so this is for now. Of course, going to be a lot of questions from Andre to explain more about the aspects of AR and VR. We'll leave it now to Mark.
Thank you, Mohammed. What I'm going to do is, basically Mohammed works on the technology side, so he knows what the technology is capable of doing. I work more on the execution side, so I think and consider what is technically available in Lebanon, what can be accommodated in marketing budgets in Lebanon, and what type of expectations do consumers in Lebanon expect to do. So to start with a very basic, simple story, you've got 2-year-old kids who are using tablets, phones, etc. They touch them. If you give them a magazine, they open the magazine and they start hitting at the pictures because they're expecting the pictures to react. So this is the type of generation that we're dealing with. So to impress them, to leave a mark in their head, to actually make sure that your brand will impact them. There's proper all advertising measures, brand recall, aided recall. You measure interactivity, you measure engagement, you measure what type of emotional bond you're developing with the brand that you're experiencing. So today, technology is helping us to communicate better with technologically skilled and well-versed and practiced consumers who have all that technology as a second nature to them. So brands need to keep up with the expectations to make sure that their impact and brand that they're trying to build and the equity they're trying to gain actually is communicated to the consumer in an impactful way. You might have a million ideas done, but again, we need the right technology to service the right type of clients. So in all advertising, you're always trying to identify the proper target segment, and that segment is the ideal consumer you want to hit. The ideal consumer, you want them to feel a certain way and think a certain way and say a certain way. So like you've got 20 different programs on TV that will grab their attention, you've got 20 different technologies that can gain their attention or access their phones. So the challenge today is which technology do we choose and how do we choose it? And after choosing that, can we actually execute it and control it to an extent where the consumer feels the right messages are being delivered to them? So I'm going to show you some of the technologies that are already present in Lebanon that we're working on. Keep in mind, and I'm sure Claude will know a lot about this, that if the internet technologies improved in Lebanon, we're going to see light ages of advancement in interactive and immersive technologies that brands can use to actually give better experiences about what they're offering in their outlets to their consumers and as brands. So first thing that I'm sure a lot of people are starting to see, cut out Google Cardboard, slip in your phone, watch a 3D or a virtual reality video. You start seeing them on YouTube. There's a designation. You put that goggles on your head. It's already happening. We did this for more than one client. Samsung is renting them out. There's a lot of technologies out there, and I think what's happening now is more and more people want to take the consumer into their own world. And I don't know if you tried it or not, but there are certain effects that are happening, and the technology is even advancing. If you want to look where virtual reality is, go to children play areas in Lebanon. They're starting to have platforms such as, sorry, next. Yes, such as these. They're starting to pop up in different malls in Lebanon, where the floor moves, you run, you jump, you side, you shoot, you walk, and these offer two types of brand experiences. One, you can actually visit the factory or follow up the production line or actually experience a world of bubbles and colors and balloons. But the second thing also is you can go on a trip and see branded content or ads in the virtual reality. So there's product placement in those trips, but there's also the experience of the brand in its fullest. Those are mobile units. They can go and come. Now, the difficult thing with this is you can't stream it because of the low infrastructure, so it has to be pre-planned. Everyone has kind of the same experience. You put the goggles on, you're into that world, you're living that world, you look right, center, 360 degrees, it's there. But most important is the brand has total control of your visual senses. In other areas, they're putting a couple of fans, they're simulating a few sounds, they're trying to increase that. In traditional advertising or brand building, if you went into Abercrombie and Fitch, there's a unique smell for the store. If you went into a bakery, they would have extra smells and senses that they put, the big images. Now we're looking at extra sensations. It's really how brands are making you feel, what impact they're leaving, and always think about emotion, recall, and visual memory, okay? So other than that, we're looking at 360-degree VR cameras, and now those are becoming even cheaper. So a lot of more companies and a lot of more suppliers in Lebanon are starting to offer this. I know at least 2 or 3 clubs are also considering putting that in. There are big issues, and here we're talking about in Lebanon social values. Do I want to be on camera 360 degrees? Do I want to be exposed? Who am I going out with, etc., etc.? Cheating husband, a cheating boyfriend. You'll get all of that on the 360-degree camera from Skybar. So the idea is we're trying to look at those technologies, because what those technologies are doing are they're closing the distance between the consumer and the brand. The brand wants to be with you. They want to live, and they want to give you an all-out view of what they're doing. So I wouldn't be surprised if restaurants would place this in their kitchens out of transparency for their processes and foods and how they think. So this tool is a very powerful tool to build your brand reputation if you have a PR issue, to build your consumer service and show how well you are, how well kept always, etc. And people can log in, check this out, and have fun with it. Again, it's accessibility. It's you being closer to the consumer. The consumer have a bigger insight on what you're doing. This gives them ownership. And remember, the entire idea is ownership. This morning, I was just talking to my students, 8 a.m. in the morning, I was asking them, so what programs, I had a TV program grid on MTV, and I was showing them the different programs, and I asked them, so what do you watch? The answer was 25 students, AUB, 8 a.m. in the morning. No one answered, nothing. They do not watch TV. So what do you watch? We watch all of this on YouTube if someone tells us about it. And this is with the limited internet we've got. If we go up to 25, 50, those people are switching off TVs completely, watching everything on Netflix, watching everything as they want. They control it. I asked, why do you do that? And they said, simply because we can share it. They have greater control. They share the content with friends, and more than they share, they can actually interact with friends in conversations. So they're not consuming, they're actually proactively recreating the content that they have. So something like this would create an angle for them to pick the angle they want. They would create it and they would do it. This is a basic one, but there are others that come in a very cylindrical shape. And by the way, next year's weddings are all going to be broadcast on 360-degree VR cameras. Expect that to happen because the technology is there. People are starting to apply it in Lebanon. Now it's a lead, first users, but then after that, it's going to be mainstream. So everyone's going to have that. Ingrid would know that if you want to know what your kids are doing at home, instead of having 5 cameras at different angles, probably you'll get one like this, stick it up in the tray in the house, and you'll start watching what's happening. Good thought control. Yes? Sorry, yeah, and again, augmented reality and what's happening there. So menus, triggers, augmented reality triggers have evolved a lot. A lot of people do this. Muhammad is excellent in this. Hint, hint. So what we're doing, I'm working on McDonald's on this. What we're trying to do is, again, augment the reality, show real products in 3 dimensions that can pop up out of the menus. It's about experiences. Some are getting tablets. So if you get a tablet, why not use that camera for augmented reality? Remember, in 1 year's time, if everyone 10 to 15% have iPhone X and iPhone 8, and they can create augmented reality, or Note 8, and they can create augmented reality here, that's the minimum expectation they have from a brand. You are no longer relevant if you're giving me a 2D, nicely designed image. I don't care, I can create a 3D element. So anyone thinking of building a brand, even your logos, will have to think of the 3-dimensional perspective in how that brand acts, works, or leaves an impact. So we're starting to see, everywhere you go to an event, there are always those photo booths. You stand, you take a picture, wall of fame, celebrity. Just imagine if there was just a green screen, you'll go there and you started selecting what type of reality you want to be in. This is the type of control that people will have. They'll have a tablet in front of you. You'll pick the pictured background, everything, even the animated movements happening around you. This is also happening. L'Oreal did this for Vichy Mineral 89. Again, Muhammad did it. So it was really good. The idea is you can control more and more of the content, and you can customize the content for your consumers. Now, this is a key advantage here, because the more you're customizing, the more you're literally bringing more value to the products that you're promoting or the brands that you're trying to build. The more control you give, the more loyalty you'll get. The more control you have over a brand, the less loyalty you'll get, because people want to interact. They want to have fun with the brands. They do not want the brand to tell them the right way to do things. Okay? Holograms, amazing. Holograms, you're going to see them. They're starting to pop up, pharmacies, a few other areas. Those holograms are all being generated, 3D designs. Again, the problem we have is people who know how to design this, and 2, how do we upgrade them constantly? Like, you can upgrade this remotely based on time of day, who's coming into the store, what pieces of clothes they'd like, or what type of food they'll eat. But with the internet connectivity we have now, the only thing we can do is pre-program them, leave them there, and then wait every day. We'll download a huge file. If it doesn't cut, if there's no problem, and then we'll change it. So when we did something like that, I think like digital screens and holograms, etc., for a big supermarket chain, the major problem was we were looking for places where internet connectivity wouldn't cut in the supermarket, because the supermarket is a huge space, 5,000, 6,000. Yeah. So technically you'll be challenged with, where do they have the best coverage in the internet in this supermarket in particular? And you would literally carry a 70-kilo table, and you would go around. It's 70 kilos because we didn't want anyone to take it, so we had to fix it. So you were shifting it around until you got the best coverage. Funny, painful, but it happens. Another thing that is happening, of course, the screens, hologram shows, but more important, I want to focus on what's happening with screens in particular. Digital screens, better, more flexible. You can use a lot with them. The development in screen technology as well as projection technology is making a big leap on how brands communicate. So we don't see that now in Lebanon, but there are outdoor projectors that, they do those ambient advertising ads where they would literally park a car, put the projector on top, and project the ad on an empty wall in a building somewhere in the city. So we have those projectors in Lebanon. They're using them regularly, but for other activities because they cost money. So not everyone is using that or creating that ambient space, but the technology is present in Lebanon and you can use it. As for holograms, holograms are a bit still on the weak side. They need a control environment, well-darkened rooms, all that setup to be done. We've done a few experiments in outdoor settings. It depends on how the light is coming, what is changing. You're projecting this, people are seeing a 3D performance in front of them. Again, the problem with that, if you go to any client and you tell them, okay, I'll do a perfect hologram for you, but the client wouldn't have any 3D designs. They wouldn't have the elements. You have to literally develop everything from scratch. So usually this would require that you take a lead time of 4, 5, 6 months, and very few companies do that much of an early planning for their brand exposures, for their budgeting, changing budget lines, etc. One of the challenges in Lebanon. Next is, I think if you look at the Academy Awards, you know this huge freeze frame camera. It's about 4 meters wide, 25 or 30 cameras with PowerShot that literally you jump, it captures you in 1 second from all degrees. So we tried to create that in Lebanon, and we applied it during the past marathon with Gatorade, a brand in PepsiCo. And we got Russian developers who literally built the entire thing to a 2-meter radius scale. We built in about 40 GoPro cameras inside. We didn't have the budget for the PowerShot, which means they literally take it at the same single instant, and then the technology which is called stitching to link all the pictures together. All of that had to be developed. So we ended up with a 4-second video. I forgot to copy the videos, so we'll check if we have internet, then we'll show you some samples. And this camera and others are things that are being created. Actually, we're working now with a wedding photographer who is doing this, 180-degree PowerShot cameras, about 20 of them that can literally, if you jump with your wedding dress or whatever you're wearing, and then it freezes you immediately and gives you a 180-degree angle. Beautiful shots. They're being developed here because you need to work on the types of metal, the ventilation for the cameras, the changes, making sure all the technology links the images at the same speed, stitches them through fast computers. Then if you're at an event like what we did in the Beirut Marathon, 1,200 people passed by. We couldn't upload any of the pictures because of the connection, so we had to send them later on at night for people. Or best, we ended up having our own Facebook page, uploading everything on Facebook. Then people were tagging and sharing. Again, give them control and they'll work with it. Last thing that we're working on now, and we're developing again with, unfortunately, developers not from Lebanon, is we're working on face filters. This one is a test for McDonald's. We're doing a lot of other things. Snapchat is about to launch face filter sales in, I think, the Lebanese market and other markets. But what we're trying to do is people love face filters. So they don't really care on keeping them. They just want that one picture with them. They throw them, discard them, and never look them at them again. So what we're trying to do is do a series of branded face filters, and those branded face filters can be used, applied anywhere in any store by anyone, and then when you're done with that, you can take that picture, share it, have fun with it, and at the same time, the brand just offered you something of value on a digital platform. I'm going to quickly go through screens, interactive screens. I already talked about that. Again, outdoor projectors, water projections. We tried that one. You know, they're trying to do a lot of this. I think the Juni Festival is trying to do a lot because they do the thing in water. So if you want them to stop using fireworks and the money spent on that, probably we can use water pumps and very powerful projectors, but that needs a lot of technology. Live streaming and live broadcasting, it's good to do it on one platform, but now people are asking, so we have 5 brands, or we have 3 pages, and we have 4 accounts, and we have 2 media partners, and all of us want to go out live streaming on one channel. So how do we do that? How can we start connecting various accounts? This is the upcoming channels that we're having now. We've got 5 phones, 5 broadcasts live, but how do we direct an entire show for the brand, linking all of that live streaming onto one channel? It's a challenge for next year. I'll get back to you on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Muhammad. Well, because of the absence of Rami, so I have to ask you, can you tell us more about the case study about L'Oreal?
I mentioned
maybe both of you.
Yeah, okay. So basically, actually, we have videos for it. So this is like 7 meters hologram, 7 by 2.6 meters, and outdoor when it's really windy. So
This was taken from behind the screen, yeah? So that's why you see the lights on the other side. It should be dim on the other side.
and the smaller size, which is hopefully gonna start seeing it in major retail pharmacies soon. So yeah, basically the client wanted to have something more technology, but without feeling the technology in the event. You see, I mean, this is the beauty of using such technologies. You don't feel the technology, you see the solution. It has to be part of a bigger concept, of a journey, let's say. So we don't show the technology really as a technology, but we try to mix it with the event, with the space where we are. And this is where it gets immersive. That's why it's immersive.
Thank you. Mark, you've been working when the communication was one way, and now the communication is two-way. Actually, it's a community, and every second we have a new platform, a new trend, a new technology, and so on. If we want to have, like me and the audience here, if we want to have a journey with one brand, let's say, working with activation, using all the trends and technologies that maybe you can implement now or you can use in the future, how can you describe it for an imaginary brand or maybe a brand that you are working with?
Okay. I wish you told me about that question yesterday. Let's take any beauty product. I think what we used to do with that is get a model, a lot of good makeup, nice photo, promote it, then after that Photoshop the hell out of it, work on it, improve it, then get a TV ad, better quality, higher definition images, started working on that. Then after that we needed to do adaptations on different platforms, and then people started taking control of it, so they wanted to apply that on themselves. So we ended up now doing face filters because I want to see how that product looks on me. I don't want to see how it's looking on the model. Suddenly everything we're doing is about delivering the brand literally in the hands of the consumer. So what we're doing now is we're letting it go faster and quicker so consumers would create it and then they would share it, because all consumers live in silos now. They look at the kind of things they like and the kind of things that they basically appreciate the most. So if you can't penetrate a particular social circle, you need to literally develop something custom enough and engaging enough that is relevant to them so they would promote it and talk about it. So I think that's the main difference from us sending the perfect image to multiple images, to retouched images, to giving them control, to receiving their images and then helping them out express themselves through the brand.
Thank you. Muhammad, you talked a lot about holograms. You talked about augmented reality. Can you give us some examples about augmented reality in marketing campaigns?
Well, I mean, now it's being implemented everywhere. Real estate is a major market now for augmented reality, automotives as well. We did a few campaigns, let's say for Philip Morris in the past, where they actually had their gift items as part of their promotion, where people actually see what they're gonna win. in augmented reality. So you choose something which is not actually, you don't know what's going to happen. So they give you the tablet, and then once you look at it and you see something popping out from the marker or from the card that they give you, and then whatever you see, you get it physically. So it's one of the things that actually used in marketing. Same, let's say, in furniture now, it's going really big. Numbers are crazy with upsales of furniture when you use augmented reality. So you can have, we did a demo for a client in Qatar where they actually try, you see, let's say, the couch in the room, or you paint the wall, or you place curtains and virtually on the walls or on your window, and see and change that pattern and the color to see exactly how it's going to look like if you purchase it. So this is actually, I mean, not always a marketing, but a sales tool, which is the beauty of it. You get the people to control and be more interactive with the material and experience it before they make a purchase. And this will give the consumer the feel of power, that they actually, okay, I'm not just buying anything. I know what I'm going to buy because I've seen it. I don't have to buy it because I can try it, and then I can decide what I want to buy. And this is now actually the development of consumer behavior, where they want to be active, they want to be involved. They don't want to just throw ads on them. They want to be part of the experience. And it's all, I think, it's all about experience now.
Thank you. It's actually good to mention 2 days ago, a startup from Lebanon called Modeo. Anyone knows Modeo? Nice. So they won at GITEX in Dubai, an award. We're happy about them. They actually have an application and a physical product where you can create modular furniture. They are still new, so you can search for them. Maybe you can pre-order. They are still launching. And they use augmented reality like you just described. So it is a trend,
Yes.
and it's going to be not a trend, it's going to be our present
It is,
also.
as long as there's a mobile and it's wearable. Now, everything shifting as content and media and consumer behavior is related to the growth and to the impact of mobile industry. Because now mobile is part of our daily life. We take it with us everywhere, to bathroom, to bed. We put it under our pillow sometimes. It's crazy, really. So this is the key, what actually got this impact on the consumer and the marketing and all these tools. It created a new tool that actually you need to feed it with content. Mm-hmm. And when you create such content, this is actually where does it take the consumer, take it to the decision. So that's why it's all related to the mobile industry.
Thank you. We have 20 minutes, and I like to keep the energy in the room. As you have seen, I'm the founder of Entrepreneurgy, and we give energy for entrepreneurs. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'm taking questions now. If not, I can ask my own questions to the panel. Any questions? Yes.
Joel Kamel. I was wondering, with augmented reality, if I want to buy a dress,
Yeah.
can I try it?
Yes, of course. It's already being implemented. We made tests for this as well. I mean, we already did something similar.
But how is it possible technically?
You just, the system, what happened that the camera will actually figure out your dimensions. Mm-hmm. And then you take the dress as a layer and you place it on yourself. Okay. Actually, you choose it on the screen, and then you will see yourself wearing it. Okay, it's not going to be weird like as a weird, okay? It will be a layer on top of you. But you will be able to feel exactly how you can compare the skin color with the color of the dress. You can see the dimension. It choose which size it is, small, large, medium. You can actually change colors. If it comes in multiple colors, you'll be able to change the colors and see how it's going to be matching. So yes, it's already there, and we are actually working on something related to fashion. We're building something called, we have a platform, augmented reality platform called Trick App, and now we're focusing on 2 industries mainly. Education, which is we already moving very fast with it, even with the Lebanese, with the Ministry of Education now. And it should be implemented very soon for classes. And the second part, it will be fashion, where you have a t-shirt or like any type of wearable that actually apparel that relate to augmented reality app, which is also Trick app, so you can see virtual objects related to the marker on your t-shirt. So yeah, it's going into fashion as well.
I can add 2 points on that. One, augmented reality like face filters, you can, instead of just swiping on your face, you can swipe your entire body. But that doesn't give you, if you're asking about fit to measure things you can actually wear. I know of a bespoke men's suits company that what they're doing is they ask you to take your measurements and you basically enter them. And what they do is they literally show you how you will look in all the different suits, and then whenever you select what you want, they'll custom make it, tailor it, and send it to you immediately. So there are 2 things you can do depending on how exact you want the measures to be.
My question is, what do you think of AR Kit, and have you started using it or testing it?
AR kit, the development kit.
Yes.
It's one of the first development kit to use augmented reality. But now you can actually use any platform to develop. Depends on the technology that you want to use, on the purpose of the development. When you come close to content development, like really mixing content and using a lot of content with the material, it's usually we go with Unity.
Okay.
I haven't used it. If it costs, then I'll definitely use it and offer it. But for me, I'm not on the development side. I'm more on delivering that technology in a marketable way. Yeah.
Mark Jalailati, I want to ask about it's for augmented reality and virtual reality, especially for augmented reality. Is it only for big companies? We heard General Electric, L'Oreal, or is it possible for medium companies to use it in their market? I know they don't have a lot of budget, but there is those technologies on a lower budget for them to use it in shops or...
Okay, basically it's really related to the content. I mean, what really costs is content development now, okay, at this stage. The good part is now we are able to create a platform where you host content on it. So you actually don't have to develop every time, okay? This is what we've done. So now basically what we do is, okay, what the content you want to place in our platform, and then we take the content, or we have to develop it from scratch. Depends. It can be a video. I mean, really, you can actually, like let's say a newspaper. You can actually make any image on the newspaper as a marker, and the AR will recognize on it, and then play the video of the news related to this image. So this is gonna cost probably almost nothing, because you just have to link the video, which usually you can put online, and then stream it straight into the phone when you watch when you're reading the newspaper, or scan the image on the newspaper. So this is actually related to the cost. So no, it's not anymore something that only big companies can do. You don't need the big budgets. You can actually, it can be very affordable.
For my side on that, the hardware is no longer expensive. An iPhone, $1,000, you've got augmented reality in it. What's really expensive is, imagine this way, brands used to do ads, right? They needed 60 millimeter cameras, like really top quality. Then it became digital cameras, then it became phones. Now everyone has a live feed out of their phone. So the technology keeps becoming more accessible. What becomes more challenging is, can we create enough talent that can adapt to the new requirements? So we have a lot of graphic designers. Now we need a lot of people who can do online graphic design. They know how to do that files. Now we need animators. After that, we need people who can edit videos in quantities. After that, we need people who can draw 3D and organize them in proper perspectives. And then after that, we're going to need people who can do injections into virtual reality that look real and not odd. So we're talking about an evolving skill set in people. Now, this is a challenge for people like me and others who are trying to teach or educate, is how do you inform kids and make curriculums change fast enough so you have enough talent to develop this? And I think that's the big gap that we're lacking now. If we want to do an entire virtual reality show about this conference, we're not going to find enough people to work on it. Yeah?
Joe Safi, I'm a corporate storyteller. The thing is, 10 years ago, the technology, as you just said, was harder and not really in the reach of everybody. Now it's easier to find the technologies everywhere, and the talents, actually, some of the people are actually training and rehearsing and practicing actually on the technology because it's available. So now, yes, we don't have enough content, let's say, but in a few years, because the technology will be more available to everyone, you will have people popping up like web developer today that are learning online and just coming saying, hey, I'm a web developer. So how long do you think before this phenomena becomes a competitive phenomena in our region?
Oh, well, okay. Let me put it this way. The technology is moving much faster than our educational system. That's a fact. I mean, the government, everybody who's involved in the educational system has to be really working on developing our curriculum to see, okay, where are we going? You know, you can't anymore teach kids with the board and normal traditional tools. Okay, this first. Then you have to tell them where they have to go. You need to make a replacement jobs for the jobs that already been gone. I mean, now in places like, let's say, Alibaba warehouse and Amazon, they have robots that actually doing the entire work inside the warehouse. Can you imagine? Which means that actually you have to create a generation of people who are supposed to be the people who are working inside this warehouse to be the people who are developing the technology and the robots to work in the warehouse. You see, so it's a trend of education. Now, in our region, it's taking time, okay? But in Lebanon, it's taking for I don't know how many years, but I mean, people are really going into this. There's a big trend of developers and startups and people. I mean, we Lebanese, we know technology. It's about infrastructure. It's about what's available in the market, who's supporting this. So it's many initiatives, but still, it's all about education and taking this generation and put it in to go alongside with the technology development.
I'm not sure how many years it's going to take, honestly. But what I know is graphic design works on probably 3 softwares. Ask any software developer today, they probably know about 16 languages. And I think people who are going to be working in augmented reality and virtual reality will need to learn probably 40. So I think the real challenge is how much can we personally keep on re-educating ourselves and retraining ourselves. The biggest challenge for us to keep up is we don't have the infrastructure. So you would go online, I've tried it, you look at a lot of demos, a lot of new technologies, you try to execute it here or stream it or do it or even just get random stocks that they have to re-exercise them here, and you can't. You have to invest in massive computers that are not always accessible even in universities in Lebanon, and to do that processing and rendering, it will cost you a lot. So I think that is the main challenge. So if you're creating a virtual world for a brand in Lebanon, you probably need a lot of capital to invest just to buy the hardware before you start, or you just wait a few years until it's cheaper and you can do it.
The technology finally became faster than the education system, because a few years back, when the cameras were not available for everybody, anyone who got the camera finally is a filmmaker.
Exactly.
And now I think the technology is finally faster than the education, so people can go specializing again.
Yeah, as soon as education catches up through labs and others, we'll start seeing innovation. And I think the investments happening today in digital districts and accelerators and others would probably do that step forward. In a lot of countries, the military organizations are the most advanced, or the money that goes into universities funds innovative progress and delivers technologies pretty early on. So they test the new technologies in university before they become become commercial, and when they become commercial, you'd have 4 or 5 generations of those graduates who can actually work them out. So I think what we need in Lebanon is a big shift in infrastructure and 2 big investments in our universities. I think some of them are doing it. I'm not going to advertise AUB, but they are. And I think others would do the same as well.
Last question. Good, so my question will be the last question and we end this panel. I want both of you, if you tell me about the vision and the future of the market you are operating or the industry you're operating in.
All right. It's certainly developing and going up. Now what we are working on is actually to work with companies like RPR and people like Mark and other agencies to educate the market and work with them that, okay, let's go and present this. Okay, and it's our role and it's our responsibility as technology leaders to actually make it accessible, make it affordable. So we have to look always to ways to make it cheaper. I mean, there's a mentality, usually, especially here in the local market, that's like, okay, when they invent something and they come up with a new idea, they want to charge a lot because they want to make quick bucks, okay? It doesn't work like this. You need to invest your time before you, and then you have to make your money. Your money will come, okay? But don't make it like not accessible and don't make it too expensive for people to even consider it. And make people run away. So what we're gonna do is we're making already many showcases, and we're working with agencies to say, okay, listen, the technology is there, the benefit is there, okay, let's work together and make it, okay, what you need to execute and use this technology. So agencies are already developing this mentality and probably working as teams on that. And our role is actually to be involved with them and work with them on that. That's my opinion.
I agree with him. I think from consuming the technologies, the cheaper they are, more people will experiment with them. Every brand today has a brand guidelines for graphic design elements, color codes, etc. They don't have the digital guidelines in terms of what do we do with the brand in virtual reality or in augmented reality, which I think is a wonderful opportunity. When we started thinking of augmented reality, I was getting quotations to do something simple for 25,000, 30,000, someone in India, someone in Russia, a couple of people in Lebanon who represent other companies. Now we're getting it developed in Lebanon for 5, 6, 4. In no time, I'm sure I'll be finding freelancers who do the same thing for 1,500 or 1,000.
Yeah.
Sorry, Muhammad. But the idea is we're getting
Why
there,
not?
but at the same time, like I said when I started, if you've got a 2-year-old kid who opens a magazine, was impressed with the colors, a generation after, they're looking at the phone and looking at the images. At a generation after, if they're looking at a tablet, it's not enough for them to see the image. They want to pick it up, twist it, shape it, throw it, change it, color it, because that's the type what augmented reality does. Or they want to just slip it into a goggle and go into that world, and instead of just looking at something flat in a magazine, suddenly they're actually walking next to Barney the dinosaur. So the idea is this is where we're going, and as soon as they get used to that when they're 3, 4, 5 years old, when they're 20 and they're going to have a glass of Johnny Walker, my client, again, advertising. So when they go and do that, they really expect Johnny Walker not to be walking, but walking next to them. So that's my experience.
One more thing is about the competition or freelancing. We really think that we want competition. We need it. I mean, as soon as this technology spread, okay, you need to educate the market. One or 2 companies are not enough, never. Okay, so this is one. And second, as long as there is experience and there's social media and the ability to actually share your experience. So you make the experience and then they will go and share it. And this is what actually creates this huge impact from experiencing as a consumer, then to share it with our social network. And that's what the aim and where we're going as well.
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for being here. Oh, so, do you want to ask it, Bob?
My name is Karen. I'm a marketing student at AUB. And basically what we said during all this conference is we promoted a lot virtual reality. Each of you spoken most positively about this, and I'm sure it's the future, and I agree with you in everything. We study a lot in marketing too at university. So after all this promotion, is there any drawbacks or cons of virtual reality or augmented reality?
You can't taste the burger even if you like the image. Really, at the end of the day, it's all about footfall and getting people. Remember, this is an incentive to develop a relationship with the brand and then to call you to action. I don't think there's a disadvantage except you assuming that you're actually having a full experience while in reality you're not. Yeah. Yes, if you're a fashionista, you fit the dress, take the picture, what do you need it for? So you don't end up. But yeah, the reality is always going.
You get the dress and then you don't like it.
Yes, of course. But between reality and the images being created, it differs. And by the time you select it and the time you get it, your attitude will probably change. And in virtual reality, there are more elements that are not real than real. But again, this does not mean that it's a definite failure. On the contrary, you'll improve, you'll learn, you're human, you're analyzed, the software will analyze. Eventually, the failure of the experience will be minimized and they'll optimize it based on the feedback that you're giving, and you will learn more how to select and what to choose. Yeah.
How many times you actually bought something from the store that you actually tested it, I mean, wear it physically in the store, and then after a few times you wear it and then you don't like it. It's the same. I mean, so you will need to expect sometimes that not everything gonna work 100%.
But my expectations based on the technology.
But this is about expectations, of course, of course.
So let's use the technology for our good, maybe to make our choice in many industries and live the reality also, not only the augmented and virtual reality. So thank you for being here and thank you for our panelists.